All right, we are back and we are moving fast and furious. Sorry for that quick break in between there, but just a lot of great information. So next we have the complement to Elias's presentation, which is Phillip Vincent from Mom's House. But before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping down in the chat. If you want to, whatever information you want to share this afternoon, I think we're a little past lunchtime, but if you want to tell us about your lunch, great. Or where you are watching from, put that in the chat. Technical issues or any conversation you want to kind of have on the side, that's perfect. If you have a specific question for Phillip about his presentation, put it in the Q&A so we make sure that we see that. And then Steve has a little more for you, and I'll be quiet.
Great. Phillip, welcome. Glad to have you here. Looking forward to it. We're going to let you jump into your conversation in just a minute. Just want to remind you, whoever chats the most wins an Amazon gift card. I'm seeing a lot of names up, a few names up there that I think are in there a lot. So I kind of got an idea who it's going to be, but I don't know for sure until we get out and count. Leanne says she's having banana and peanut butter for lunch. That's pretty good. It's not quite lunchtime for me, so I won't get wine until we're done here. I did manage to grab a bowl of cereal during one of the presentation, coffee and grits. Never been able to figure out the grits thing, I gotta tell you, not being a Southern person. So, but don't forget to do the webinars in the chat. And Phillip's a friend, and I am looking forward to hearing from you. So what I'd like to do is have you tell us who you are and then teach us something. And Dave and I will step off the stage.
Thank you very much for that intro, both Dave and Steve. It feels like I get to hang out with some friends these past 2 days watching these people give back, right? I think everyone that's listening right now is trying to grow, Can we help seniors more than we are today? Can we look at things differently? And so I think there's a lot of thought leaders on these panels for the next 2 days. So hopefully, guys, I can share my knowledge. I've been in this one business for 24 years, but the past 12 years, I've been focused on the senior living world. And I want to share that with you guys today. I will share my screen. Okay. I need somebody to give me a thumbs up that, or maybe in the chat, can you see this perfectly? Yes, we can see it. Thank you, Jules. Appreciate it very much. Let's talk first about the journey that these families are going through. I take great pride in getting to buy a family's forever home. Elias had just made the comment about these families have been living there for 40 years, and they're trying to find where is mom going to get the best care. So out of the gate, that is the number one concern. Where will mom get the best care? That's what we should all be focusing on. And the industry does a good job of that once they get to those communities to show them what they have to offer from the care. But right behind that, almost immediately, is the fear of, this costs more than I thought it would. How am I going to pay for this? These families are cash poor a lot of times, but house rich. And so they have to go through this journey of how are they going to lock the equity for care. And so at Mom's House, from an empathetic standpoint, we try to help the senior living industry with this journey. And I'm excited to share these things with you. I'm very passionate about this business. And I want to talk to you guys about, my first thing is a question. I'm going to switch it up right out of the gate, go out of left field. What would happen? You guys can please put this in the chat for me so I can see the feedback. What do you think would happen to the car dealership industry if today they stopped taking trade-ins? And I would really like to see your answers. What would happen to that industry if the car dealership industry stopped taking trade-ins? Does anyone want to guess as to what would happen? At minimum, could we not all agree that it would slow down the process exponentially? Some people are saying fail, right? The industry, they want to sell you a new car, so they've taken in earnest the ability to buy the trade in. And I want to use that analogy because I feel like that is what senior living needs to do. We need to embrace the trade in. In fact, today, the senior living industry spends millions of dollars a month to get people to come to their community, to learn about their community, to tour their community, only to watch, you guys see my gesture? Only to push them away. Literally, you've gotten them in your doors, now you push them away to say, you need to go talk to a real estate agent, and when you figure that out, What do they mean by figure that out? Is get that house ready for the market, up on the market, cleaned out, rehab, sold for the highest price. Right? That's what they're all trying to do. We're all trying to get as much money as we can for mom or dad. That's what we're doing here. Go talk to a real estate agent. And when you figure that out, please come back and see us. Why? Because we have this great housing that's perfect for mom. And I think that should be chilling to everyone that's listening. You're spending millions of dollars to get the customer only to push them away because you are in the housing business. We are all in the housing business. We're going to say we lead with care, but you're trading one housing that they're in today for the new housing that you all offer. And so we need to embrace the trade-in. What's happening by not doing that, guys? It's impacting your census. Elias was talking about, I think I wrote down 91% of major metros, 91% are at high risk of the sales taking longer than they have. The past 2 years, 2 years ago, the industry was drunk. The real estate world was drunken. If you got anything to the market, it would sell. About 6 months ago, that stopped. And that will impact everyone that's listening right now because the sales process, the journey that these families are going through has now been slowed. They're not getting away with it by just getting it to the market. The houses that are stalling on the market are the dated houses. If you think about your parents' house right now, or maybe even your own house, is it retail ready? And so these slowdown, these things that the real estate agent is asking them to do, which is to rehab the house, first of all, clean it out, then rehab the house so they can get that top dollar. Everyone's trying to get as much money for mom's care as possible. That's the journey we're all on. I took out my phone yesterday during Evan over at Rubric. I took a screenshot with my phone of this. This was the Rubric data behind what comes next. They're in your websites. They're looking at your websites. And I found this really telling. I like number one was 30% more research. Number two, take a tour. But number three was prepare the home for sale. And I would say even that 55% above it, the more research and take a tour, these people, they when they're going through this process, they can't think about selling their home until they know where they're going to move. And so until they pinpoint exactly where they want to move, now it becomes really real for that number three, which is prepare the home for sale. So I would say even those people in the 55% above the prepare the home for sale are also thinking about what do I do with the house? And if we scan down a little further, another 6% said speak with a real estate agent. Why do they think they have to speak to a real estate agent? They think that's the only way to sell their house. And even talk with a financial advisor is a money conversation. Can I afford this? And so when you look at what this journey is for these families, how they're going to get from where they are today to where they need to be, which is in your communities quicker, that's the right thing for mom. Our job as an industry, I think, is to embrace the trade-in. Do I want senior living to start buying houses? I do not. That's what Mom's House was designed for. And I'm excited to share this with you today. Mom's House was built for senior living. I've been doing this now for 12 years, and we're doing it nationwide now. We're trying to help this industry to empower not only daughter Judy, but the senior themselves so they can make the right decision for them so they can get mom into care quicker and easier. How do we do that? We're not real estate agents. We're not placement agents. We're not downsizing people. We actually buy the house. So to be clear, we're not looking to list these houses like a real estate agent might. In fact, we're trying to eliminate all of those costs and buy it directly. I really want to focus on this red box. Do you guys see the two red boxes here? If we were going to go sell our parents' house today, there's this hassle factor to get to what we're going to net. And when the real estate agent walks in and says, to get that Zillow price of $400,000, we need to clean the house out first and then do this list of rehab items to get it to be as the neighbors' houses are. A lot of times our parents are living in houses that are clean but dated. A lot of times they're full of stuff, and the things that they put up with for the past 40 years now have to be fixed. Elias used the example of a roof. When your buyer comes in today, they expect it to have a functional roof. They expect it to have a functional utilities. All those things are obvious that even though your hot water heater is 25 years old, the new buyer is going to want it to be replaced because it's at the end of its functional life. And so these families who are already going through so much stress, so much burden, trying to figure out what's best for mom, all their efforts should be on mom. It shouldn't be to now, let's go do a rehab on the house. What happens when the family says, you know what, real estate agent, I think we should rehab this house? This is what happens. So this is not Phillip's numbers. If you guys want to write this down and we can put it in the chat, or maybe somebody can do that for me. This is the cost versus value guide. Cost versus value guide. You can type it into Google. This company, it's not my company. It's a company that's been around for 23 years. They index what it costs to do normal rehab items on your home. Normal rehab items on your home. So I'm just going to pick one. Let's do the deck in the middle there. So we're going to go with a wood deck, or we're going to go with a composite deck. Well, first of all, your senior they might not even know the difference. A lot of times they choose the cheaper one. They think cheaper is better. So in this case, they choose a wood deck. I chose St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I'm sitting right now. What's fun about this cost versus value, guys, don't do it right now while we're talking, but later on today, go to your local market and pull up these numbers for you. This is the cost, what something costs you versus the value you get in return. So there in the middle, it says deck edition. We're going to do the cheaper version of wood, even though we should be doing composite, but people choose the cheaper version. That cost that family $18,715. That is the St. Louis average. For all that trouble of finding that contractor and coming up with almost $19,000, what do they get in return? They get about $11,700 back in resale value. And some of you might be thinking, well, that can't be right. How could we lose 40% of our money? Well, that's just one item, guys. So let's keep going. Let's do a bathroom remodel. All these houses have bathrooms. We're not going to go upscale. We're going to make it easy on everybody. We're going to say this bathroom remodel, not addition, but the remodel, the third one down there, is a remodel of a bathroom that's there. In St. Louis, one bathroom cost $26,371. For the family's trouble, they get $14,000 back in value. They only lost 45% of their money. So guys, think about what I'm saying here. If houses only need one or two items, okay, you might lose some money on that to do this. If these houses need 4, 5, 10, 15 things done to the house, always paint and carpet, right? But it's the updating of the house, which is what today's buyer wants. The houses that are updated are the ones that are selling. The ones that are dated are the ones that are sitting, just like it happened back in 2011, 2009, 2011. I lived through those times as well. We're going through that same thing again. And this cost versus value in a time when your families need money, you're sending them out to go spend money. And when you see this now that you've seen it, that you're sending them out to maybe spend $23,000 on a bathroom that they're going to get $14,000 back in, is that the best use of their time, effort, and money? The answer is clearly not. When they start to figure out how many things that need to be updated on the house to get to that Zillow price, they think they're going to get to this number. Really what matters is this. It's what they net in the end. It's not a matter of what they spent. To get $400,000, if you spent $100,000 on the rehab, you didn't net $400,000. And so the math that the family is doing is, what effort do I have to outlay? Where's the money going to come from? In a time when mom needs money, where is all this money going to come from? Are they going to go get a high interest rate loan to do this? Maybe. Are they going to tap their brother who's more affluent than the rest of the children? Maybe. Is it going to come from some other source? Are they going to take the risk to rehab the house in a market that's being a downturn? I just helped a family this week. They bought their house last year for $750,000, and their market switched so much. Today it's worth $650,000. So in 1 year, the house value lost $100,000. Families are still trying to think about last summer's prices, but that's changed. And so when we think about the cost versus value, these families are not professional rehabbers like our network is. And so whenever the family decides they're going to rehab it themselves, and I'm trying to add humor here a little bit, they think they can do it for less. And what happens is, guys, I've been a contractor for 24 years. I have trouble getting contractors in 24 years being a professional, let alone the layperson who's trying to figure this out. A lot of times the adult children live 4 states away. It's hard enough to try to rehab a house in your own neighborhood, let alone one that's 4 states away. So who do they usually go with? They go with a contract who can do it for less, the contractor that can do it for less money, because they're trying to get that top price on Zillow. So they're trying to rehab it. When they're left to their own design or desires, they make bad choices. Remember this, guys? Did you know there's only one item? If anybody wants to guess, and for anyone of my students that are on here right now, you guys shouldn't cheat. Let everyone else participate. What one item can you do to your house? There's only one that actually gives you more value than what it cost. If anybody would like to guess, that would be great. So before you can even rehab a house, what else has to happen? Clearly, you don't show up with a rehab crew before you clean mom or dad's house out. So this joke here is, one day, son, this will all be yours. Today's families, today's adult children do not want their parents' stuff. And what do I mean by that is they take the heirlooms and very quickly, guys. Gold, guns, jewelry, all those things leave in 20 minutes. But what's left after that is the stuff. I hardly ever say the word junk. I don't like that word, but it's a lot of stuff. And what is this stuff? Who's it worth a lot to? It's worth a lot to the senior, not as much to the adult children. Let me give you a scary stat. Okay, so I've gotten some answers here. Entry door replacement, floors, landscaping, getting rid of the stuff, declutter. There's one thing that gives you more value than you've spent, and that's landscaping, but up to $1,500. So don't think you can spend 30 grand on trees in your front yard and you're going to get 31,000 in value. It's actually capped at only 1,500. What we're talking about, guys, is a little bit of curb appeal. Someone said in there a kitchen remodel. I'm glad they said that. That is literally one of the worst ones. You get about half of your money back on a kitchen remodel because kitchens are so expensive. So first we have to tackle the stuff before we even think about the rehab. This is a picture of me about a month ago. I was helping a gentleman get moved. His wife and himself were moving into senior living together. He lived one state away. This was his extra house, and this was the condition of the home. And what I'll never forget about this house, I see houses like this quite often, was that how much fulfillment I get out of helping this gentleman who was a state away. He said, Phil, I can never come back and clean that house. Can you help me get some of my stuff delivered to me in Kansas? And so I was able to go through this house. Can you imagine the look? Every room of this house looked just like this. And I was able to go through and put on a truck and bring it to him in Kansas, get it to his storage unit because he wasn't able to do those things himself. And so while not every house is like this, this is a true hoarding situation. Does anyone want to guess what you call a hoarder that you like? For me, I like to call them aggressive collectors. Mom wasn't necessarily a hoarder. She was a bit of an aggressive collector. We have to get through the stuff first. What I found, guys, is the easiest way to organize your stuff is to get rid of most of it. Being in real estate and senior living has taught me not to have too many possessions. They will drag you down. And so, of course, I'm using humor here. One scary stat, I'll just give you what I know about St. Louis, is that the average estate sale in St. Louis generates between $3,000 and $5,000 in revenue. The mom and dad stuff sold between $3,000 and $5,000. That was the revenue from the sale. The cost to put that sale on is between $3,000 and $5,000. And so you can never tell the family their stuff is worth nothing. Why would you ever do that, right? They need to sell these items. That's what's the right thing to do. But then they find out very quickly they might not make any money on it. And guys, to me, that's worse than zero because of the time it took. It can easily take 2 or 3 months to get that sale from start to finish before they could even start the rehab. What we're doing is we're punting this family 6 months down the line before they can unlock that equity for care. And with the cost of daily cost running at the community, will it be in their best interest when they're really just trying to get to that net number? Your time is valuable. Their time is valuable. What's happening in senior living, what I'm seeing a lot right now, is your hot prospects become cold leads very quickly. I've talked to a lot of people that are in the sales process, and they say, Philip, once I've done the tour with the family, and I call them back 2 weeks, 3 weeks later to see how they're doing, that call is pretty difficult to do because I don't have anything else to offer them other than, and this is how they put it, I'm calling to see if a tragedy has happened. That is not a fun phone call. You're waiting for something to change, for something to be more pressure on the family that makes them need to move. You can't call the family up every time and be like, how's the weather? What Mom's House is being used at right now, guys, is a re-engagement tool. We want to re-engage those cold prospects, even if they're 3 or 4 weeks old. That might be cold to you, but in our world, in the Mom's House world, we want to help those families because we know, just like that rubric stat showed, they're trying to figure out what are they going to do with the house? What are they going to do with the stuff? How are they going to pay for it? And I'm going to use Steve Moran's word earlier, we have a frictionless goal. We're not going to buy every single house. It's naive to think that way, but we're going to try because we're going to leave every single family in a better condition than when we found them, just by surrounding them with all the solutions that they need. It doesn't mean we're going to buy every house, but we're going to try to change this industry to have a trade-in guarantee, if you will, for anyone moving into senior living. They should work with Mom's House to at least know what they could get without the hassles of the retail sale. Your time is valuable. What does it mean if you can move someone in? Guys, let's look at this right here. What if you could move someone in 3 weeks versus 3 to 6 months? What does it do to an industry that already only has a 28-month average stay? If I can add 3 months onto the front end of a 28-month stay, I've just made the entire industry 10% more profitable with the clients they already have. I hope that you guys are hearing this. This is super important. Your occupancy matters. Let's embrace the trade-in. Let's work with these families, right? Your time is valuable. Their time is valuable. We want to re-engage your clients. We can work with you many different ways to do that. We want to warm up your cold families with something real to talk about. The fun thing about real estate is that people like to talk about real estate. And so something real is say, hey, Fred, have you heard of Mom's House? No, what is it? Oh, they have a no obligation offer on your home. They can help you with the house and the stuff. I remember when you did the tour 3 weeks ago, that was one of your biggest concerns. Imagine how that will go. That's a reason to call them with something real. So Mom's House has over 1,300 empathetic senior specialists that will come out locally and meet with your families to make them this no obligation offer. A lot of them are on the call right now. Thank you guys for attending this. I appreciate having my senior specialist on here. We take great pride in what we do. Here's a picture of us. At one of our events, we do a lot of education and training on empathy. We are not the stereotypical real estate people. We come from a senior living, the way we talk, the way we act, the way we are. We always say we're in the hugs and kisses business. We talked earlier, Julie was talking about we're all in the relationship business. And so basically, that's what we train our people nonstop is you're in a relationship. How can you surround them with solutions? How can you make this experience more frictionless? The word friction indicates a rub, right? And I would argue that the house sale is not a rub, it's a literal wall. So how do we stop the wall, guys? Knock the wall completely down. It's by thinking differently. We train our senior transition specialists every single day. We're nonstop in the education side of teaching our senior transition specialists on how to help the families. There is no charge to work with us. There's no cost to the families or the communities. And so for me and my mission here at Mom's House is to help 50,000 daughter Judys and their parents every single month, because in our world, life is about making an impact as much as it is an income. And we want to change how senior living is done. Guys, this is real. The market is going to get worse before it gets better. And this will impact your census. And I want you to think of us right now as another option to shorten your sales cycle. We can work with you many different ways. I want you to get a hold of Aubrey at momshouse.com. Aubrey, she's well known. She's well loved in our industry. She's great. Please get a hold of Aubrey at momshouse.com. That's her phone number right there. She's our head of business development. We want to work with you to not have to suffer through this downturn of the real estate market. In fact, we want to change senior living to guarantee the trade-in. If every one of your clients showed up with a bag of money ready to go versus I need to go sell my house, we're going to really get a big stride, a real thing. We say the word, how are we going to get frictionless? This is it. This is a huge way to do this. So let's work together to make this process a lot less friction. Thank you, guys. That is my time. I would love to do questions for anyone. Should I unshare? Dave, if you can hear me?
Yeah, we're here. Yep, we're here. Thank you.
Should I escape?
Got one question here. Actually, it's one person, but four questions.
One person with four questions. Okay.
Are you a franchise?
No, franchises that's a great word. That F word has meaning. And here's the thing that we are not a franchise. We work in the senior living industry to connect them to the people in our group. So we don't share in their whatever they might do with the house. Keep it as a rental, rehab it, sell it, tear it down, build a new one, whatever the house is. Those transition specialists are their own. They go out and they help those families independently with their own companies.
Okay. Next one is, you ultimately flip homes?
Well, sure. That's a loaded statement. Ultimately, no.
It is. I know that.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure. That's one of the options. I look at the house like salmon, right? The salmon's going to swim a certain way. It's trying to go up. Don't do it the hard way. Go with what their flow is. And so $1 million house probably will never be a rental. You know, if there's teardowns on the street, we look at it as a teardown. Is it a rehab to sell? There's many different options. Things like Airbnbs. So I hate putting blanket answers on a $1 trillion gigantic industry, guys.
And I think maybe a little bit of clarity. I know you already talked about this, but just if I can sort of paraphrase it and put words in that might be helpful. The buyer is actually not Mom's House. It's somebody you have trained and you're working with. They buy it and then they make the determination of what they're going to do afterwards. Is that correct?
Yeah, they work under the Mom's House umbrella. They are their own companies. You have to remember, guys, that real estate is hyper local. So if it's in St. Louis, you better believe I know my details here. but somebody in Albuquerque or somebody in Florida or New York City, I don't know which 100 blocks are good and which ones are bad. And so our local trained transition specialists they farm their local area. So we do it by county. And so I have someone locally, like Jules is on here right now. She's in Denver or Colorado, right? She's a local expert there. So she would come out and help them with that.
And it looks like
And then the payout would be just like a standard house sale, right? You would agree on a price and you go to escrow and do whatever stuff you needed to agree on, and you get a check when escrow closes, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, so some states use title. We use title. So my check would show up at the title company. Then the family would get their check from the title company. Some states we use attorneys, but yes, these are normal sales. There's just not real estate agents involved, right? We just buy it directly. So that cost savings to the family, they're going to have to pay that on a normal sale. With this, we don't. And that's what allows that. Remember that red box? You know, I can show on paper on these deals. One of the things that we teach our, everyone in Mom's House, we show the families what we would do to get the house retail ready. And that cost versus value guide, very quickly, daughter Judy calls her brother up in North Carolina and says, I don't think we should do anything. It looks like for every dollar I spend, I get about 60 cents back. Well, who in the heck, in a time when we need money, no reasonable person is going to say, how much money do I want to lose? Especially if they have to go get that money from another place, right? That just makes it, I think the term is throwing good money after bad, right? But some families feel like they have to. Why do we feel that? Why do we feel that we have to? The world thinks to sell your house that you have to use a real estate agent. That's not true. You guys own your own houses. You can do whatever you want to with it if you have an option. And so what Mom's House has become is another option for people. We actually work a lot with real estate agents. A lot of people say in the communities, we already work with a real estate agent. I'm like, great. That's not our value add, right? We'll work with that real estate agent directly to get that house purchased.
So a question in the chat that I think was worthwhile for you to address. It got a simple answer, which is a good start. But what happens if somebody's got a reverse mortgage on the house?
I love how this comes up each time. The word reverse mortgage, guys, take the word reverse away. It's a mortgage, right? So immediately, whether they have a mortgage, a line of credit, a second, or a reverse mortgage, all of those are debt instruments. So the first question I would ask you is, well, how much do you owe on your reverse mortgage? And so a reverse mortgage is still debt. And so if they owe 100,000, I hope my offer is going to be over 100,000, because if it's less than that, then they would be what's called upside down. I also like to congratulate families that took out second mortgages. Mom or dad probably got to live in that house a lot longer than normal, because they sucked that equity out of the house in a reverse mortgage fashion.
Cool. Dave?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna, add on. It seems like as we get into this, as Elias alluded to earlier, as we, the housing market tightens up and interest rates go up, and all of this gets a lot harder. So these barriers are going to get bigger. So I think, again, we've drilled down from those more, the things we're talking about yesterday, and we drilled down to these very specific solutions about how to remove these barriers. And I think between, these things that aren't quite as flashy as as others, but yeah, these are incredibly important barriers to be able to tear down. And so I think these are definitely things you want to look into. So thank you, Phillip, for that.
Appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We're gonna wrap up. Next we have Charles Turner from CARE. Right, so let's see. We are about 5 minutes from there. So everybody, just remember to fill out an evaluation form for Phillip and his presentation, which was great. And then we'll see you guys in about 5 or 6 minutes with Charles.
Yep,
good karma for hard scores.
Before you log off, if I'm not too late, let me drop the link in there.
Yep,
The one other one I want to just give a plug for, because it adds another dimension to this. It's not at all competitive with it. What either Elias or Phillip is doing is Patriot Angels, which can help you get VA benefits. And I promise you, there are a ton of you in many of your buildings who, even though they're already moved in, could access anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month that would help them pay. And that just makes your life better. So I really encourage you to take a look at Patriot Angels. You can search for Patriot Angels. You'll find them on Google. So with that, we'll see you in
5 minutes.
6 minutes.
All right.
Bye. Thanks, Phil.
All right. Thank you, Phillip.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.